I'm Nicole Burley. It is Tuesday, September 7th. This is Rush Hour. Those top stories in just a moment. Tonight, we are also following President Biden, touring the damage left behind by Ida in the Northeast, urging action to combat climate change while meeting with families who lost everything in that storm. Meantime, a mass shooting at a Kansas nightclub. The alleged gunman kicked out for fighting, then coming back with a gun, spraying bullets. One person is dead, 5 others injured. And right now, he is on the run. We're live talking with the club's owner. We're also live tonight in Virginia as crews make final preparations to take down the Robert E. Lee statue in Richmond, one of the largest Confederate monuments in the country. And we do expect some new protests. But we begin tonight with 2 big headlines out of Texas on abortion and election integrity. Tonight, Governor Greg Abbott putting pen to paper, signing a controversial voting rights overhaul into law. It's for nationwide debate as Texas Democrats left the state in protest. We'll get to Marky Martin live in Texas for fresh reaction from both sides on that new voting law. But we begin tonight with Felicia Bolton. Felicia, people all across the nation talking about this controversial new Texas abortion law. Critics are calling it a vigilante law. Right now, it's sparking a huge social media firestorm.
Yeah, that's completely right. And the outcry on this Texas latest abortion law has turned into a full-out online brawl, with some TikTok users even using online tools to take down the whistleblower website created by the group Texas Right to Life. Their website allowed users to report anyone who had an abortion in Texas after 6 weeks and anyone who might have helped them. Citizens reporting is a key part of this law. GoDaddy did host the site but took it down within hours. Rival service Epic then picked it back up. TikTokers then posted a call to action, asking anyone and everyone to bombard that website with fake reports. Sean Black, who goes by Black_Madness21 on TikTok, created a bot that makes it easy to submit these fake tips.
What if somebody very technical, very handsome, set up a bot that automatically sent the request to their website? Oh, wait, it was me. I did that. It's right here. Unfortunately, it's not as efficient as it could be, which means it only sends one request every 10 to 15 seconds or so. But leave this running overnight, then
Yeah, you heard that right. He said that request was every 10 to 15 seconds. Texas Right to Life released this statement reading in part, "We will not be silenced. If anti-lifers want to take our website down, we'll put it back up. No one can keep us from telling the truth. No one can stop us from saving lives. We are not afraid of the mob." Right now, the site prolifewhistleblower.com simply redirects people to Texas Right to Life main page, and the group says it's exploring long-term plans for their domain. On the TikTok side of things, Sean Black says he was IP banned. Essentially, his bot was blocked. He then revealed his way around that and even created a shortcut for more people to flood that whistleblower website. Absolutely insane here, Nicole. Who would have thought TikTok would have so much power?
Yeah, absolutely, Felicia. All right, big story in Texas there. We stay in Texas tonight. Activists across the country focused on the state's new controversial voting rules. Marky Martin is live. And Marky, the governor put pen to paper today, as we said, and after months of back and forth between state lawmakers there.
So, Nicole, as of today, Texas officially joins that list of red states who have enacted voting laws in the name of security following the 2020 presidential election. And for us here, you know, this really ends months of political clashes, especially after, you remember back in July when all of those Democrats fled the state to break quorum and not give Republicans the number of votes they needed to pass this legislation. This is a sweeping overhaul bill. I want to break down some of these biggest highlights for you here. First and foremost, this bans drive-through voting. Secondly, it eliminates 24-hour early voting. Thirdly, it becomes a felony for any local officials to send out unsolicited mail-in ballot applications. And the last thing I want to touch on, too, it really gives partisan poll watchers more autonomy in the polling place, specifically allowing them to move about freely as they see fit. Now, all of this was really in direct response and a direct target to Houston. That is Harris County. It's our most populous county here. It carried Biden, and that county really enabled some of its own rules and regulations during the voting process because of the pandemic. However, today, during that signing ceremony, Governor Greg Abbott reiterating over and over again that SB 1 does not make it more challenging to send in your vote. Take a listen.
The Texas law, it does make it easier than ever before for anybody to go cast a ballot. It does also, however, make sure that it is harder for people to cheat at the ballot box in Texas.
So Texas is now among at least 18 other states who have enacted new voting restrictions following the 2020 presidential election. Former President Donald Trump still maintaining that that election was rigged, it was stolen, claims that have not been founded. And Nicole, this new law set to take effect beginning of December.
All right, so Marky, we've been covering the debate, the back and forth for months now. I'd have to imagine there already has to be some legal backlash here.
Oh, absolutely. You know, opponents to this bill for months have been saying all that this does is erect really challenging hurdles to cast your ballot, specifically for minority groups and those with disabilities. And a lot of groups didn't even wait for today's signature. You know, just to list off a few, you have the American Civil Liberties Union, Texas Impact, the League of Women Voters of Texas, and Rev Up Texas. Just last week, 2 complaints were filed that had a total of 20 plaintiffs, and more lawsuits are expected to come forward. And just today, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki aboard Air Force One saying that she and the Biden administration stand firmly behind all of these voting rights groups who are fighting SB 1. Nicole.
Yeah, Marky, this will certainly not be the last we hear of this. All right, thank you. Well, a new twist tonight as investigators work to pinpoint what motivated an ex-Marine accused of massacring a Florida family, plus what we know about the newly formed Taliban government in Afghanistan. But first, let's get to Tom Negevin. He's live in New York. And Tom, the president spent the day today touring the Ida damage, and he's also issuing a stark warning about climate change.
That's right, Nicole. The president on his way back to the White House tonight. Long gone, but still a big scene here in Queens, New York, one of the 2 hardest hit areas that President Biden visited today. A lot of people came out to see him, hear from him, hoping to get some answers about what happened in their community almost a week ago now. And the president used this opportunity to tout his $1 trillion plan to shore up the nation's infrastructure, hoping to help deal with the effects of global climate change.
Sometimes some very bad things happen that have a tendency to bring out the best in a people.
The president and members of New York's congressional delegation touring a borough devastated by Ida. 13 people died in Queens, most drowning in illegal basement apartments. Now concern about mold contamination in schools as students head back to class in the nation's largest city. There's a hug for a young flood victim in Manville, New Jersey, where neighborhoods flooded, homes and businesses burned. The president stressing it's time for everyone to do their part to confront a changing climate.
That's what this is all about, in my view. This is an opportunity. I think the country's finally acknowledged the fact that global warming is real and it's moving at an incredible pace, and we've got to do something about it.
There were 18 confirmed Ida-related deaths here in New York, at least 27 in the state of New Jersey. Officials today pointing out that New York City bore the brunt of not 1 but 2 record-breaking storms in the space of just a week. And Nicole, there's another flood warning in effect for the city of New York tonight.
Oh, my goodness, I just can't catch a break there. All right, Tom, thank you. Well, more than a week since Hurricane Ida made landfall in Louisiana, more than 400,000 homes and businesses still have no power. And as that cleanup continues, many trying to get some financial help. News Nation's LeBron Joseph from our New Orleans station WGNO joining us with what people there are hoping for.
Hello, Nicole. The Terrebonne Parish communities of Bayou Grand, Caillou, and Dulac were amongst the hardest hit during Hurricane Ida. In fact, the meteorologists estimate the winds to be in excess of 150 miles an hour, toppling power poles and laying waste to many homes. During his stop in Houma today, Senator John Kennedy helped pass out much-needed supplies to residents and address the plan he backs that includes excusing SBA loans for the people affected by the storm.
Well, an SBA loan is there if you need it. The problem with an SBA loan is it's a loan, and you have to pay it back. And a lot of people can't afford their payments now. So while an SBA loan is an option, the legislation that we're talking about is in the form of a grant.
Kennedy's next stop today was in Thibodaux to pass out more supplies here in the Bayou parishes. And he says that his more immediate push is to find housing for people that have completely lost their homes. Back to you, Nicole.
All right, LeBron, thank you. Well, dozens of Americans still waiting for their lifeline out of Afghanistan as the Taliban announces the leaders of its new government. They are promising things will be different this time around, even though recent events would suggest otherwise. News Nation's Washington correspondent Joe Khalil live for us tonight in Washington, D.C. Now, Joe, what is the status of those Americans still left behind?
Well, Nicole, you know, as the Taliban has formally established this new government, there are still more than 100 Americans stuck in the country right now. That hasn't changed. In fact, Secretary of State Antony Blinken was in the region today. Now, he did push back on this idea that there are Americans being held hostage at the Mazar-Sharif airport in northern Afghanistan. He says there have been some smaller groups of people where you have some with legitimate documentation showing they're Americans and others without that documentation. And he says in those cases, the Taliban has been blocking those whole groups from boarding planes, but he says it is far short of a hostage situation. And he says that every American who wants to get out will eventually get out. Of course, this does put a lot of trust in the Taliban and the new government to help facilitate Americans getting out. And frankly, there is still a lot of reason not to trust the Taliban's new government. One of those reasons being what we saw just today, a major protest of women in Afghanistan today who were marching for their rights that they've had for the last 20 years that was disrupted pretty violently by Taliban fighters. Now, despite what you've just seen, the new Taliban government claims that it's not going to revert back to violent ways, subjugation of women, blatant human rights violations. They say that this new government is going to be more inclusive, that they're going to allow women to even go to school and to work in some capacity as long as those women are separate from men there. But again, a lot of people are skeptical of whether the Taliban is going to keep their word on that, especially because a lot of people in the new administration, Nicole, that were just announced, are terrorists that are literally now on United States and United Nations terrorist watch lists. Nicole?
Jill, that video you showed us is terrifying. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, investigators in Florida working tonight to piece together why a former Marine shot and killed 4 members of a Florida family, including a 3-month-old infant. He had no connection to that family. Today, Governor Ron DeSantis thanking first responders in Lakeland for capturing the suspect who told them, quote, "You know why I did this," as he was being taken into custody. News Nation's Marissa Marino from our station WFLA has the tragic details tonight out of Lakeland.
Days after this horrific massacre, take a look here at the scene of the crime. You can see the detectives, they are still here combing through the home, trying to find clues as to why this happened.
Aerial video shows where the tragedy unfolded on North Socorm Loop Road. Detectives still searching the family compound for clues days after the horrific crime.
Brian, did you kill these people?
33-year-old Brian Riley, the accused gunman. The Polk County Sheriff says the honorably discharged Marine and sharpshooter killed 4 people on this property, a grandmother, 2 adults, and a 3-month-old baby. Investigators say Riley did not know the victims. They believe he showed up in the neighborhood Saturday evening acting strange, and according to the sheriff's office, neighbors asked him to leave. Detectives say Riley returned early Sunday morning armed and gunned down the innocent victims. According to charging documents, the Marine told detectives he did it because, quote, God told him to do it. He called himself a sick guy and said he wanted to go to jail. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis addressed the tragedy at a news conference today.
This is an outrageous crime. This guy was totally off his rocker. It needs to have the full weight of the law brought down.
We have learned the sole survivor, an 11-year-old girl, told detectives that she played dead after being shot multiple times by the suspect. She's at a local hospital in stable condition, and she is expected to survive. That suspect remains behind bars without bond. Back to you, Nicole.
All right, thank you for that. And right now in the Heartland, an urgent search for the man police say opened fire inside a Kansas nightclub. Police said the suspect was kicked out of that Wichita club. He returned with a semi-automatic handgun and killed one man and injured 5 women. News Nation's Jessica Watson from our Wichita station KSNW is live. And Jessica, you spoke with the club's owner.
Police say this started as a disturbance on the dance floor. Then the suspect left, came back, and stood outside the club and fired shots, killing 1 person and injuring 5. Now the 5 women are expected to survive from their injuries. As you can see behind me, the glass is still on the ground. The owner just replaced the windows and has started cleaning up the scene, but some people have even dropped off some flowers. Now, when I spoke to the owner, he called this attack evil.
To be honest with you, it's like what I'm feeling now doesn't matter because I'm still alive. A husband, a man, a father, a son got killed.
News of the passing of Preston Atlas Spencer is hitting the community hard. The family, while too shaken up to talk, says that he was unforgettable. In a statement, his wife shares he took care of his family before himself every single day, making sure that we always felt his deep love for us.
My condolences, my deepest condolences go to his family, the Spencer family, and my prayers go to everybody who's injured and still in the hospital.
Spencer's wife told me Preston was one of the greatest gifts I was blessed to have, and he gave me 2 beautiful children to share this life with.
It was just a stupid act of somebody who's evil, who decided to end somebody's life for no reason whatsoever.
The owner of Enigma says that after an incident on the dance floor, his staff escorted the suspect out of the bar and says he went willingly. He doesn't understand the shooter's actions.
Everybody is going through trauma. Like you're dancing and then you're planning to leave, and then all of a sudden you're running away and scared for your life.
Now, police are still searching for the suspect, 23-year-old Keyshawn Dawson of Wichita. Police say he did have outstanding warrants and warn that he should be considered dangerous. Back to you, Nicole.
All right, Jessica, thank you for that. Well, the list of COVID variants is growing. In addition to Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, and Lambda, you can now add the Mu variant. It's been detected in 49 states. Nebraska, the only state that has yet to see it. Leading the pack in Mu cases, California. News Nation's Nancy Liu live tonight from Los Angeles. Nancy, how concerned are officials about this new variant?
Well, Nicole, there is real concern, but it seems to be tempered. So far this summer, health officials here have reported 167 Mu cases in LA County. But for now, here and all over the country, the Delta variant remains far more prevalent. After the long holiday weekend, there's a rush on COVID testing. While 99% of current COVID cases are due to the highly contagious Delta variant, the Mu variant is also here. LA County has seen 167 such cases this summer, though it appears to be on the retreat.
We don't know if that's simply because, again, the Delta variant is able to outcompete the Mu variant and really shut it down. Or is it simply that we just haven't gotten all the results in yet in August?
For now, the CDC does not consider Mu as a variant of concern, but Dr. Anthony Fauci has said it's worth keeping an eye on.
This variant has a constellation of mutations that suggest that it would evade certain antibodies, not only monoclonal antibodies, but vaccine and convalescent serum-induced antibodies.
The Mu variant was first identified in Colombia back in January, and it's been detected in every state except Nebraska. Infectious disease experts say Mu is notable, but the far bigger concern now is the current surge of Delta.
It could go either way, really. It could become like the Delta variant and become prominent, or it could be like some of the other variants, beta, gamma, where we were very concerned, but it didn't end up becoming the dominant variant.
Now, experts say key to stopping new variants from forming is slowing overall infections, and key to that is mitigation efforts as well as global vaccinations. Nicole?
All about those mitigation efforts. All right, Nancy, thank you. Well, still to come tonight on Rush Hour, a 6-year-old killed at a Colorado theme park. New tonight, we are hearing the frantic back and forth between police as they responded to that grisly scene. And a shocking new twist in a South Carolina family murder mystery. The prominent lawyer who found his wife and son shot to death months later shot in the head himself. Today, stepping down from his law firm, but did he resign voluntarily or was he forced out? But first, a new turn in the Ohio fake high school football scandal, and you'll only see it right here on News Nation. You remember this team made national headlines after they were beaten so badly, even the governor called for an investigation. Well, now the head coach of Bishop Sycamore sitting down one-on-one only with News Nation. Welcome back to Rush Hour. Here's what's happening in your nation right now. Election rules in Texas have officially changed after Governor Greg Abbott today signed into law a massive overhaul. This new law further tightens how and when voters can cast ballots. Texas now joins more than a dozen states that have passed Republican-backed voting changes since the 2020 election. And the state's new abortion law has also turned into an online brawl, with some TikTok users trying to take down a whistleblower website, which allows users to report anyone in the state who has an abortion after 6 weeks, as well as anyone who helps them. And just in, the governor announced a third special session set for September 20th. This is the Republican governor's third attempt to pass 5 major GOP priority bills. President Biden on his way back to the White House after touring areas in New Jersey and New York hit hard by Hurricane Ida's remnants. He met with families trying to pick up the pieces after historic flooding and pressed the need to build better infrastructure to combat climate change. An interim all-male government has taken the reins in Afghanistan. The new governing body is mostly led by veterans of the Taliban's hardline rule from the 1990s, including the new interior minister who has a $5 million bounty on his head and is on the FBI's most wanted list. Meantime, the U.S. still trying to help evacuate more than 100 Americans still stuck in the country. Well, after a year of court battles, the nation's largest Confederate monument set to come down tomorrow. Right now, crews are gearing up to remove the statue of General Robert E. Lee. It's in Richmond, Virginia. And News Nation's Ben Dennis from our station WRIC is there live tonight, Ben. So what is the mood there right now?
Well, Nicole, the mood, frankly, is tense tonight, but police are moving pedestrians and drivers out of the way. There's a 12-ton bronze statue 6 stories high above Richmond City streets of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. He's been here for over a century, but as you had mentioned, he's slated to come down tomorrow. Let's take it through the pieces here. In the capital of the Confederacy in Richmond, protests and riots broke out last summer after George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis. Many protests centered here at the Robert E. Lee statue. It was the first of many local Black Lives Matter protests at the time. It ultimately led Virginia Governor Ralph Northam to order the statue down. It was a win for those protesters. They see the statue as one that memorializes the lost cause of slavery and oppression of black people. But for over a year, the order to remove the statue was battled in court. The Virginia Supreme Court just last week sided with the governor. Others, they see removing the statue as taking away a chapter in history, in their own words. Today, even drivers drove around the Confederate statue, flying the Confederate flag from their vehicles. Here's how some people are reacting tonight.
I genuinely pray that this coming down will bring some healing process or the beginning of something better for this state of Virginia.
Piece of me is going to miss it as a symbol of what it has come to stand for, but it's time. It's time to bring it down.
And believe it or not, crews plan to take the statue apart in several pieces because it's so heavy. 12 ton. Folks still gathered to see what may unfold over the coming hours. Security will be tight, but where the statue ends up is unknown. We're told local museum officials are still trying to work out the details. Back to you, Nicole.
Yeah, that's a massive statue. All right, Ben, thank you. Well, new tonight, we are learning more about what happened to a 6-year-old girl killed on a theme park ride. It happened at the Glenwood Caverns Park in Colorado. Nicole Fierro with our Denver station KDVR is there live. Nicole, and so there's some new dispatch audio tonight suggesting maybe that the little girl fell from the ride.
You can see a line of signs, cones, all explaining how this adventure park is not open today. Now, the Glenwood Caverns, they tell us that this is out of respect for the family of that 6-year-old girl who died. Now, the lead in this investigation, the state agency, telling us they have inspectors on site right now searching for answers or issues before this park is scheduled to reopen tomorrow.
Glenwood Caverns for a party that fell out of the shaft ride.
Police radio traffic paints the unthinkable tragedy of what happened here at Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park Sunday night.
The patient will be a 6-year-old female, unknown which part of the ride.
The coroner tells us a 6-year-old girl from Colorado Springs died on this ride. The haunted mine drop. Who she is, how she passed, we don't know at this time. The Division of Oil and Public Safety, the lead in this investigation, now telling the problem solvers this ride that's been in operation since 2017 has been in compliance with all regulatory requirements, including annual third-party inspections. The most recent third-party inspection conducted just months ago in June. We asked what goes into an investigation like this.
We look at the condition of the ride. We look at all the records involved, regulatory requirements, as well as just any other documentation they may have.
Also reviewed will be interviews with all parties involved, inspectors, operators, patrons, manufacturers, and more. This amusement park is supposed to open back up tomorrow. We asked specifically if the ride, the Haunted Mine Drop, is going to reopen as well. No word on that yet, just the height requirement here. 46 inches. As for the investigation, we're told it's going to be thorough, could take several days, 2 weeks. In Glenwood Springs, Nicole Fierro. Back to you, Nicole.
All right, thank you for that. Well, yet another new update in a South Carolina murder mystery. A prominent attorney who found his family shot to death outside their home and was shot himself this weekend is today being accused of misusing funds at his law firm. NewsNation correspondent Janelle Fort joining us live tonight in Hampton County. So, Janelle, how much money are we talking about missing here?
Well, Nicole, the law firm hasn't said how much money might be missing, but they have confirmed that they've hired an accountant firm to review all of their books as of this afternoon. The law firm's website is down, and they say that they are no longer associated with Alec Murdaugh in any way.
Tonight, Alec Murdaugh heading to rehab after being pushed out of his job and then shot over the weekend. In the latest twist to an already puzzling case, the prominent attorney is accused of mishandling funds at PMPD law firm, where his family served as partners for decades. In a statement, the private firm vowed to investigate, saying in part, quote, "This is disappointing news for all of us. Rest assured that our firm will deal with this in a straightforward manner." Murdaugh resigned Friday. The next day, he called 911 to say he'd been shot in a roadside attack while changing his tire on a rural road. He was airlifted to the hospital for what investigators say was a superficial gunshot wound to the head. In a statement released through a spokesperson Monday, Murdaugh announced he's going to rehab, saying, quote, "The murders of my wife and son have caused an incredibly difficult time in my life. I've made a lot of decisions that I truly regret." Adding, quote, "I am immensely sorry to everyone I've hurt, including my family, friends, and colleagues." These events come roughly 3 months after Murdaugh discovered his wife Maggie and son Paul shot to death at the family's hunting cabin.
It's 4147 Moselle Road. I've been up to it now. It's bad.
Okay. Okay, and are they breathing?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and you said it's your wife and your son?
my wife and my son.
The murder investigation still unsolved. At the time of his death, Paul was awaiting trial for a 2019 boating crash that killed 19-year-old Mallory Beach. The wreck led to stories questioning whether his family's ties to the legal system in the area affected the investigation. The Murdaughs are one of South Carolina's most prominent legal families going back generations. Many wonder if this summer's murders were a form of vigilante justice.
Investigators have been tight-lipped about both Paul and Maggie's murder as well as the shooting over the weekend, and they have not released any information about a suspect or suspects for either case. Nicole.
Yeah, so many tragedies in this situation. All right, Janelle, thank you for that. So to come tonight on Rush Hour, a homelessness crisis in America. 10 cities popping up in more U.S. cities and towns. How lawmakers are working to curb the growing number of homeless and find them permanent places to live. 4 people in the hospital tonight in Los Angeles after a car crashed into a homeless encampment this morning. Authorities say the car involved had collided with another vehicle before losing control, driving up onto the sidewalk and plowing into that encampment in Koreatown. Now, homeless encampments aren't exactly new, but more and more of them are appearing across the country, even in smaller communities away from the big cities. NewsNation's D.C. correspondent Evan Lambert is live for us tonight in the nation's capital. So, Evan, do we have an answer to that why this is happening?
Well, Nicole, we'll get to that in just a second, but these are the tents that you see popping up just outside of Union Station here in D.C., and they are popping up in communities big and small all across the country. A local mayor telling me tonight that the pandemic has made all of this much worse.
This pandemic exposed every vulnerability in our social welfare system.
Savannah Mayor Van Johnson says when the pandemic started and his city's homeless shelters cut back on space to allow social distancing, the homeless problem only got worse.
So they ended up on our streets, ended up on our corners.
To help give people something more substantial than tents in places with no bathrooms or showers, Savannah used its budget, boosted by the pandemic relief last year, to run a city-owned homeless encampment. It offers security, running water, and sanitary conditions to the growing unhoused population. There are plans for more permanent container homes in the coming years. Many cities across the nation are seeing this boom in the unhoused on the streets, too. In L.A. Tuesday, a car crashed into a tent city. A man saved by a sofa that was part of that encampment. In Texas, a new statewide ban on camping on public land just went into effect this month. Advocates for ending homelessness say governments need to make sure tents aren't the best option for their residents.
The point is, find landlords who have empty units and rent apartments to people who are homeless. That's really the solution, whether there's a pandemic or not.
And this problem is definitely hard to quantify. The last national count of homeless people happened before the pandemic. And just in the last few hours, Denver's mayor announcing that a major park there would be closed starting next week until further notice because conditions there have become unsanitary. Back to you.
All right, Evan, thank you for that. Well, coming up next in entertainment, British police investigating reports that Prince Charles may have had a hand in a scheme where foreign nationals paid tens of millions in exchange for honorary titles. So what did the heir apparent to the British throne really know? We're breaking it all down in Entertainment Nation. Another scandal may be brewing in the British royal family, this one centering on Prince Charles. NewsNation's Sloan Glass joining us now with today's entertainment headlines. So, Sloan, we're talking about the heir to the British throne, and the police are involved.
Yeah, Nicole, it's a big deal. The scandal involves Prince Charles, his charities, and a Saudi tycoon. Prince Charles has been implicated in a scheme reportedly connected to one of his top aides, Michael Fawcett. Fawcett is accused of getting $2 million in donations for the prince's pet charities from a Saudi sheikh in exchange for a special royal honor that would help expedite his citizenship application. Now British police are involved, and Prince Charles is denying any knowledge of the bribes. Michael Fawcett has since stepped down from his role with the Prince's Foundation.
So we'll see what happens with this. All right, so I have to say, I saw this in the prompter, and now this song is stuck in my head. A new escapade for Janet Jackson. This is a new project, and I cannot get the song out of my head now.
I've been dancing all day, too. Yes, her new documentary is called Janet. We are being promised a look at her life from her perspective. Let's take a look at our first glimpse.
When I was 17, I did what people told me.
And, of course, she'll be talking about her famous family, including the life and death of her brother, Michael Jackson. This could be an honest, inside look at one of the most famous families in music history. We hear Jackson will talk about her 2004 Super Bowl halftime performance with Justin Timberlake. I personally can't wait to see what she has to say about that one, given her stylist has said it was not a wardrobe malfunction. Lots of controversy there, and the documentary took 5 years to film, so expectations are high for the two-part release. It is scheduled to air this January on Lifetime and A&E to celebrate the 40th anniversary of her self-titled first album.
Wow, 40 years. Oh, that's going to be so good. All right, Sloan, thank you.
Thank you.
Live from our News Nation headquarters in Chicago, here's a look at what's happening in your nation now. The Minneapolis City Council has approved a question in November's election that asks about changes to the city's police department. That proposal gained attention after the murder of George Floyd by former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. The question on the ballot will let city voters weigh in on whether to replace the Minneapolis Police Department with a new Department of Public Safety. And a judge ordering a mental health evaluation for the man accused of killing 10 people at a Boulder, Colorado grocery store in March. Lawyers for Ahmad Elisa claim he suffers from an unspecified mental disability. The 22-year-old is accused of killing 9 shoppers and workers and one of the first police officers who responded. Investigators have not released a possible motive for that attack. The Caldor fire burning through Northern California, now roughly half contained. Crews have largely been able to keep the flames away from populated areas, although nearly 1,000 structures have been destroyed near Lake Tahoe on the California-Nevada border. The world's top Christian leaders have issued their first ever joint statement. On the topic of climate change, Pope Francis, Archbishop of Canterbury Justin Welby, and Orthodox Patriarch Bartholomew are urging the delegates at the upcoming UN Climate Summit to, quote, make sacrifices to save the planet. They say all people have a role to play to protect the earth, but leaders have the greatest responsibility to make courageous decisions. And classes canceled at Howard University in Washington, D.C. today, the school continuing to investigate a ransomware cyber attack. University officials say they detected unusual activity on the network last week, prompting them to shut it down. At this point, they say there is no evidence of students' personal information being stolen. And look at this, a Colorado man returned a family's lost dog and was about to collect the reward when the family found out he was the one who stole the dog in the first place. This doorbell cam video shows him driving up to the house and snatching the dog before driving away. Police are now investigating, and no, he did not get the reward. Well, as always, we do like to leave you with a smile when we can. Tonight's comes courtesy of an Indiana grandmother who happens to be the oldest competitor in the National Soapbox Derby. Deborah Houston not only made history over the weekend, the 60-year-old did it just 3 weeks after finishing chemo and radiation treatments during her third battle with cancer.
Just coming out here and seeing all the people and seeing that they were happy to see me made me, just gave me a whole lot of more hope.
Very happy to see you, Deborah. You are awesome, and that is all for Rush Hour. The Donlin Report is next.